It's me, Vicky Marie. And in this rant today, little rant, it's a big rant actually, because I want to know, why do women, some women, support misogynistic, horrible men who do horrible things to other women? Just always beyond me. You know, it's quite often a woman will take a man's side when he's obviously being horrible, but we're going to talk about an extreme case today. And this is the case of Joanna Parrish. Joanna Parrish was murdered 33 years ago in France. And her murderer was a serial killer. A serial killer you may not have heard of. I don't know much. I've heard of him, but I really do not know much about him. So later on today, because you know we didn't manage to do the serial killer Sunday yesterday, so tonight I'm going to, in the live stream tonight, I'm going to do a live stream tonight, and I'm going to talk about this guy, this French serial killer. Now, I don't know loads about him, so I'm just going to have to read up what I can, tell you as much as I can about him. Now, the reason why it's come up today and the reason why I'm wanting to have a rant was his wife, Monique Olivier. She knew all about it, all about his murders. She watched some of the assaults and murders on young girls, including this young girl, Joanna Parrish. And I just question, you know, it's a bit like Myra Hindley, isn't it? You know, or anyone who, it always seems worse that the woman was involved, doesn't it? Because quite often serial killers, it's easier for them to operate if they've got a woman in tow, isn't it? Like Myra Hindley, you know, Woody and Brady have been able to get those children to go with him. You know, she sort of inveigled them into her car, and they, you know, they trusted her, and it was heartbreaking to hear the tape of Leslie Ann Downey. I didn't hear the tape, but I've seen the transcript of the tape, begging for her life, calling Myra Hindley mum for mercy, you know, and cold as ice. And the same with this woman. You know, how could she allow it? I can understand that she would have been scared of him too. Of course she would. But the very first opportunity you got, and she will have had many, many opportunities to go to the police, to go to someone, you know. So why do women not stick up for other women? It's really, really sort of bamboozles me completely. But anyway. So this is an article from Sky News today. This is what I've seen today that's made me look. She's 20 years old, that girl, but it was 33 years ago. So this is an article on Sky News. I didn't know about this particular victim. As I said, I don't know loads about this case, but I'm going to look into it more tonight. Joanna Parrish, devastated family of a British student who was murdered in France, to see justice 3 decades after her death. Now, of course, probably the reason we don't know much about this serial killer is because he's a French serial killer. But this is a British victim, so I suppose that's why it's coming up for attention here. So Joanna, this is on Sky News by Adam Parsons. Joanna Parrish was killed 33 years ago in the French city of Auxerre, and no one has ever been convicted of her murder. Bless. In a quiet graveyard in Gloucestershire, the only sounds are the bells ringing at the top of the hour and the birds in the trees. You look over the fence and you see the River Severn and the hills of the valley in the distance. It is a beautiful, peaceful spot, but it is also a place linked to crime, violence, decades of anguish. Joanna Parrish is buried here, her gravestone written in English and French. She was murdered 33 years ago, hundreds of miles away in the French city of Auxerre. Joanna was 20 years old, a university student teaching in France as part of her degree. She went missing, and then not long after, her body was found in the River Yonne. I don't know that river. Not a river again. Goodness me, I'm starting to hate rivers. Nobody has ever been convicted of her murder, but we know who did it. A serial killer called Michel, not Michael, Michel Fourniret, who was already in prison for 7 murders. He admitted to killing her 5 years ago, but he died before he could be put on trial. But now, after decades of despair and tragic errors, justice may be within sight, because Fourniret did not act alone. He was helped in his murders by his wife, Monique Olivier, who lured girls and other young women and allowed them to be attacked, raped, and murdered by Fourniret. I'm sort of gobsmacked by the whole thing. As I say, I see it in smaller ways every day. Men being obnoxious and women sticking up for them. Men being obnoxious to women and women sticking up for the man happens daily. It's horrible. But this is like the extreme, isn't it? It's the total extreme. You know, to actually lure women away, like being it's like being his enabler for this, you know, luring women away and allowing them to be attacked. Anyway, she is still alive. Monique is still alive. She's 74 years old and she's serving a 28-year sentence for complicity in Fournieret's murders. So she once confessed to seeing Fourniret murder a young woman in Auxerre. Clearly, this woman was Joanna, but she later retracted that statement. However, now she's about to go on trial for being an accomplice in 3 further murders, including that of Joanna. It's taken a third of a century, but perhaps justice is finally going to be delivered for Joanna and for the parents who have spent decades searching for a form of closure. It's so terribly sad because Joanna will never come back. Obviously, Joanna has gone. They took Joanna away from the world. But yeah, it does feel better to think that somebody may get some prison time for it or something. I don't know if it does give closure. I don't know if anything gives closure to these families. I hope I never have to find out. But it's something. Lives change forever. At home in Gloucestershire, Pauline Morell tends to her pet Pudgy. Oh, bless a Pudgy. And offers us a cup of tea. From the sofa, her former husband, Roger Parrish, asks for a coffee. Oh, they've been divorced for decades. It's terrible, it's so sad. Because quite often parents of children who are murdered do separate. Very often, in fact, it's more often that they do than they don't. So they manage to stay together. It must be a very strong relationship. So they've separated or divorced, but according to Adam, they are still evidently close, caring and friendly. They finish each other's sentences. Joanna's parents, Pauline and Roger, said their daughter was a kind, bright and smart person. Their lives changed instantly and horribly when they were told that their daughter had been murdered. It's impossible to take in, says Pauline. They said she was found in the water and I was staring out of a window and I simply couldn't take it in. I couldn't cry for months. Oh. Then I got the post-mortem report and I opened it on a Sunday morning and I wasn't able to get out of bed. Roger wipes away a tear. The memory's still so haunting. She deserved a long and happy, fulfilled life. She worked hard and she deserved it. She was helpful, part of the community. People still remember her. She did well. Well, even in her short life, she contributed more to this world than those two assholes did. You know, you've got to think about what you're contributing to the world. You don't have to contribute, you know, massive things. You just have to not contribute hate, not contribute suffering, not contribute, you know, the bad things. You know, so I'm sure this young girl contributed more in her 20 years than those horrible twonks did in the whole of their life. Pauline's last phone call with her had ended with a declaration of love from the parents to their daughter. It's a memory that offers some solace. Sometimes that's a good thing about when people move away, or because I think in normal daily life we don't say often, do we, to each other, to our families, to our loved ones. We don't say I love you or whatever, you know. It's just not, when you're seeing someone every day, you tend not to say it. But when you move away, you do tend to say it more. I found that when I moved away to Reading, when I came to Spain. You know, I've got some beautiful letters from my father. He was not a demonstrative man by any means, but the letters that he wrote me, because I was far away from home, no one else in my family has got that, because they were there, you know. And I always feel sort of a bit jealous of them, because they were, you know, I think if I would have known he only had another couple of years left, because when I left, he died 2 years later. But if I would have known, obviously, I would have not have moved away. But of course, you don't know, do you? You know, you can't stop your life, because you have to just live your life. And then you look back, and I've had many regrets that should have stayed there. But one thing I've got from coming here that I would not have had if I hadn't come here are the lovely letters from him. Because he didn't write letters. It was only because I was so far away. So the devastation of grief was followed by frustration about the police investigation. Oh, what a surprise. Roger and Pauline heard little from the French authorities. Instead, they went to France themselves and started asking more questions, looking for information and demanding more effort. Then came the arrest of Fourniret, and the pieces began to fall into place. As it slowly became apparent that his wife had helped him, so Roger and Pauline became convinced that he had killed their daughter. Jo was a kind person, says Roger, but she was also bright and smart. She was not likely to have trusted a man who was by himself. Just looking where my water is, I've got a little frog in my throat. When we found out that there was a female accomplice, I remember thinking we had never thought of that. Why would we have done? But right from that moment, I thought, this is it. This is the person. But still, the police could not put together the evidence to link Fourniret with Joanna's murder. In fact, they had bungled investigation, mishandling the crime scene and mislaying crucial forensic evidence. French police lost some really important evidence. Bernie Kinsella was a detective who worked as a liaison between British and French police. He discovered an investigation that struggled to link multiple crimes or to manage its resources. Gosh. Anyway, I'm not even commenting on that. He's still in touch with Roger and Pauline. The French lost some really important evidence, he told me. The semen sample from the original RAPE had just been lost, which is unthinkable in terms of any major investigation like that. Losing an exhibit like that is a glaring error, so that had a massive impact on their ability to investigate this properly. Desperate, Pauline even took the step of writing to Monique Olivier. Gosh, I remember just saying that from one mother to another. Yes, because she had children. I wanted to know what happened. Her lawyers said it was a trick, that it wasn't proper, and I was upset about that. It wasn't a trick, it was heartfelt. It's just such a horrible, horrible thing. I can't imagine that any mother would be able to live with themselves. Goodness me. Do you know what I've realised lately? It's amazing what people can live with, isn't it? It's amazing. And now she's pushing the victim bit, but I certainly don't consider her the victim. She's definitely not the victim. Her voice echoes with contempt. Olivier has always suggested she was coerced and intimidated by Fourniret, a claim that has been roundly dismissed by prosecutors. Now, that may well be true, but as I was saying earlier, this was over years. This wasn't, you know, if just once it happened and you'd be terrified of saying anything because, you know, in case it murdered you as well. But first opportunity you got, they weren't, you know, glued together. First opportunity you got, you'd be straight down the police station, or I certainly would. Some women just don't see it with men. They just don't see what horrible people they are. I'm not saying all men are horrible people. I'm saying some women do not see when a man is, you know, not a nice person. Unfortunately, you know, they just don't. And I suppose some men don't see when a woman is a horrible person. I expect it would. Maybe we should just say some people don't see when a person is a horrible person. I think as an empath, I normally know pretty quick. In fact, I know very, very quickly, but you can't convince anybody otherwise because they've got to find out for themselves. When she was first convicted in 2008, the court concluded that, far from being easily influenced, she was highly intelligent and capable. The convictions of Olivier and Fourniret did not bring justice for Joanna. Olivier had originally made a statement linking her husband to the murder, but then withdrew it. The case went quiet and it was eventually closed. But in 2018, 28 years after he killed her, Fourniret admitted to the murder, so he then admitted to it. A court case beckoned before being delayed by the pandemic, and then, to the frustration of Roger and Pauline, Fourniret died. So they were probably hoping, you know, to finally find out what had happened, and then he died. COVID, probably, I don't know. Oh no, he'd been ill anyway. When he died, it wasn't a great surprise because we knew he'd been ill, but we did feel cheated. I wanted to face him in court and that was taken away. We're glad that he died. The world is a better place without a person like him. But at the same time, we would have wanted to face him, to look him in the eye. Of course they would. They would have wanted to, you know, give their victim impact statement, tell him, oh gosh, you'd just want to, wouldn't you? To those twonks, you'd just want to have your say, wouldn't you, if nothing else? So the trial is the last hurdle. Now they have another chance. Both parents will be travelling to Nanterre, just outside Paris, for the trial. I wonder when it is. We probably look on it as the last hurdle, says Roger. It's been a long time. It's over 30 years, so we're glad it's taking place. 30 years. Oh my God. Until it's over, we can't get to whatever will be the next stage of our lives. Pauline adds, I keep saying that it's not going to bring her back. It's almost as if you feel that once it's over, everything will go back to normal, but it'll never be like that. No, it won't be, says Roger, nodding, holding his head. but it will stop us having to think all the time about what we're going to do next. What's the next step? What are we going to do? Hopefully that will be it, that it will clear our heads a bit. We'll never forget Jo, she'll always be here. Roger and Pauline are warm, charming people whose lives have been blighted in the most horrendous way. If Olivier is convicted, it will surely bring some kind of closure. But you wonder, after waiting so long for something so important, can it ever really be enough? No, it can't ever be enough. But it's better than the alternative of, you know, of nothing happening and justice never, nobody being held accountable. Very sad. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I honestly don't know how these parents cope. I literally do not know how that would feel to lose your child in that way. It's bad enough to lose your child anyway, but to those twonks, you know, to a way that could, you know, if you lose your child in an accident or an illness, it couldn't be changed, could it? You know, it happened, and yeah, but when it's because of deliberate actions of other people, cannot imagine how that would feel. Now I'm just going to get a picture of him up, because so later on tonight I'm going to do a live. I don't even know what he looks like. Gosh. Well, there you go. That's what he looks like. Just an ordinary guy, like they always look like, don't they? There he was. Gosh. And that's his wife, I take it. Dear me. They always look like ordinary people. They had children. She managed to persuade women to go off with them. Anyway, I don't know the ins and outs of the case. I know very little about the case. I had heard about it, but have you noticed with these killers now what they do? They put them in bulletproof jackets. You know, when they take them to court or whatever, he's got a bulletproof jacket on there just so that nobody can shoot him. God, well, I'm not surprised to do it, because I think if I was one of the parents, if I had a gun, I think I would definitely have a go. I would definitely have a go. You know, you just, how could you not? So obviously that's happened. So actually I saw an interesting story about someone who actually shot the murderer of their child in court, and one day we'll look at that. There's a lot of things to look at. But anyway, so that's my rant of the day. Why do women, I mean, I'm ranting at him as well, don't get wrong, I'm not taking it away from him, but my rant of the day is, why do some women support horrible men? You know, even though those men are doing things wrong to other women, quite often women will support them. And I just don't understand it. I could never support a man who'd done something to another woman, you know. I just couldn't. But anyway, there you go. So they're the twonks of the day as well. Him and his wife are the twonks of the day. Gosh, was that him when he was young? Gosh. Anyway, and tonight we're going to look at the actual case. We're going to do a serial killer Monday, because I didn't do a serial killer Sunday yesterday. That's what we're going to do tonight. So thank you, as always. Oh, I never put my little ticker-tacker up. But anyway, it probably gets on your nerves anyway. But I like to put it up because it says everything I want to say, just in case I forget. So thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, all your support, your lovely emails and messages that I've had over the last week. Thank you for being my member, to all my members. Thank you to anyone who sent me a super or bought me a Ko-fi or PayPal me, and just thank you for watching and liking, of course, the videos. They're the free ways that you can support my channel. Thank you to all of you who've done that. And I'll remember to live and love very wise. And I tell you, ladies, any women out there, the day that your partner turns around and says, hey, you know what would be a good idea? Let's kidnap a woman because I really fancy raping her and murdering her. Please don't agree to it. Please don't agree to it. Okay, see you later. Until I see you again, may your God go with you.